K Sasikumar, High Court of Kerala. The topic is the youth of today and the proliferating cyber pornography.
I have been hovering over the subject, the youth of today and the proliferating cyber pornography, for some time long. But a recent Kerala High Court pronouncement touching the menace of internet abuse among youngsters incited my thoughts to be expressed this way. The youth of today, everywhere in the cyber age, confront with many challenges. In the cyber world, unaccessibility to anything is removed, as things are only a touch away on anybody's gadgets, the most common being the mobile phones. We have seen in the difficult pandemic times, every activity right from the very primary classes up to the highest justice delivery system of the country functioning in a virtual platform created by technology. There may not be much going back also, even if the threat is over. The human life these days thus has reached a cyber existence, and a cyber world order apparently rule mankind. It's actually a wonderful feat of science and technology. However, it has another side, more specifically, the adverse side where this same science and technology brings in evils, and certain among them even carry away our constructive youthful energies. The crimes these days have attained a varied look. Cyber crimes are rampant. It is seen that a cyber loafer begins innocently, but depending on his taste, inclination, and circumstance, gradually gets drawn into it, and that probably would carry him to ruins, which at times lead to cyber crimes. While I went through such menacing areas, I stumbled upon a generally less touched area, pornography in the cyber world. In abstract, it is sexual explicitness or obscenity to the core. A study conducted in the matter gives startling statistics about the same. It says that 30% of internet content is porn, that one can get abundant access to pornographic contents on the dark web, and that contains even child pornography. The study also reveals that only 10% of the content is available on the surface web and the rest on the dark web, that almost 20% of the mobile phone searches are for porn. More than 30,000 people watch porn every second, and that 90% of boys and 60% of girls watch porn by the time they turn 18. It is also in the study that pornography is the fastest growing industry, and it is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. It is further found that the United States is the world leader in the pornographic industry, and it spends dollars in billions on porn, followed by Australia. They are also gaining several billions of dollars of revenue every year from the industry. This statistics actually shows how precarious is the situation globally. In the pandemic times that we have just passed through, academic education has been possible only through the internet. A mobile phone with internet connection was the most essential tool in the hands of every young student. Parents thus were getting least control over the children using mobile phones. Its misuse accordingly has been naturally happening. Accessibility to porn sites now thus easy and handy to them, as these are only touches away. Adolescence is the most fragile period in one's life. It's the period of character build-up and certainly a period of transition when the body of an individual gets emotional and biological changes towards the stage of adulthood. Sexual interests and desires are also developed at this stage. The attraction towards opposite sex would carry the body to an extreme urge. The social order and the family discipline are the natural breaks, but easy approach to pornographic sites would definitely incite the prurient interests of the individual, which may ultimately reach an addictional level when one would spend hours together on the mob screen and also sleepless nights. This may further develop into uncontrollable sexual urge, and that would lead to varied emotional, psychological, and sociological problems. This emotional urge would then compel them to look for real time relationships, and a stage may come when one would start forgetting the social order and the family bonds. Instances are many as we see such adolescents committing cruel sex crimes. There are also instances when they go wayward, and there are many antisocial mixed groups where they enjoy free sex under intoxicating drugs and liquor. It's how pornography begets drug abuse. Once they get to enjoy the mystic world of narcotic drugs, a return is removed, making an escape from these evil a near impossibility. These days, we come across very many instances of sex crimes and atrocities committed by youth. We have seen in the much publicized Delhi rape case that the most violent assailant was a juvenile of about 16 years only. Not a single day now passes off without the news at least of one sexual atrocity committed by a youngster, at times even going to the extreme extent of murder. The problem, it seems, have now grown out of proportion. Recently, the newspapers carried a report from the state of Assam, where in a village called Nijori, a 6-year-old girl was killed as she refused to watch a porn video. Those arrested in connection with the crime were 3 boys of 8 years and 11 years only. Again, we have seen the report from our own state that a 21-year-old woman was assaulted by a 15-year-old boy who was following her till she reached a lonely place on the way. Think of the range of the problem now. The offenders are juveniles and they can be proceeded only accordingly. It has been in the news that a fast-track Sessions Court Haripad convicted a young 23-year-old man for committing rape on an aged, ailing 90-year-old woman, which ultimately caused her death. The occurrence was in the year 2017 when he was only 19. The convict was sentenced to life imprisonment. Another latest judicial pronouncement which hit headlines is from the fast-track Special Sessions Pokso Court, Perimbaur, where a 24-year-old young man was convicted and sentenced to 60 years of imprisonment. The offense was his committing rape on a 15-year-old girl 2 years ago when he was only 22 years. This perversity in committing crimes can originate only in a heat-oppressed brain derailed by adverse aggressive sexual incitement, and the real villain when intrinsically traced would reach at this menacing contents released through internet and invigorated by the mesmerizing drugs and liquor. It's true, history of these crimes tells us that such offenders rarely go unpunished. But the point before us is whether such punitive measures taken upon commission of such offences ever help to create a social order. How to get out of this menace? What appears to any sane mind, therefore, is that it is not such penal proceedings to follow these young offenders, but to contain the menace at its very source itself. The need of the hour, therefore, is stringent, appropriate governmental interventions at the enforcement level, which are of insignificance now. There may not be two opinions that if efficient and effective measures are undertaken to nip the vice at the bud itself, the set evils eating away the youthful energy can safely be eliminated. This we have actually experienced to some extent when the government of India took stern steps in banning certain dangerous game sites. What is essential is a proper awareness at the governmental level about these evils and a strong will with strict and effective enforcement of the laws so that the perpetrators of such porn sites are brought to book at the source itself. It is not due to dearth of effective laws in our country that such vicious sites are being proliferated. We have abundant enforceable laws in operation in that direction. Our Indian Penal Code itself has been carrying sufficient provisions in its sections 292 and 293 for proceeding against obscenity. These sections define obscenity and provide stringent punishments which extend to 5 years imprisonment along with fine amounts. In this cyber age, the law became sufficiently evolved, extending the application of the penal provisions to electronic arena also. The Government of India enacted special laws like Information Technology Act 2000 incorporating penal provisions as section 67, 67A and 67B in the Act, and Protection of Children from Sexual Offence POCSO Act 2012, particularly sections 11 to 15. In short, with the law in the Parent Act and with the special laws, pornography in any form in the normal world as well as in the cyber world is absolutely prohibited, and these laws provide stringent punishments also, the substantive sentence of which ranges from 5 to 7 years imprisonment and also with fine amounts. These stringent prohibitory but penal provisions are abundantly available in the statute books, but not a single second passes off without at least one site being operational. Anybody now, however, is at a loss to find a single instance of booking a case under these laws against the perpetrators of these crimes. Then, why such laws only to be mockingly stayed upon? The net stark reality is that every day, every hour, every minute, and rather every moment, the menace is being proliferated. New lucrative porn sites are being born, and our innocent youth every moment get attracted and entrapped only to be destroyed like flies to flame. When the basic menace remains uncontrollably perpetrated, can the government or the enforcement machinery simply wash off their hands with all these punitive actions on the consequent crimes? The government is not disabled. As we have seen, the Government of India could prohibit, at least to a good extent, the spiraling vice of internet games by banning the most dangerous out of them. In fact, the problem has now reached to such a big ramification that an international move, say, with UN intervention may be necessary. Anyhow, it is high time for our governments and the enforcement agencies to rise from slumber, realize the gravity of the situation, think of and draw a road map to effectively move against the perpetrators of cyber pornography in our country, to contain the evil forever, so that our constructive youth of today are saved from a calamitous end.